A portrait of English mathematician Alan Turing has become the first artwork by a humanoid robot to be sold at auction, fetching more than $1 million in New York.
영국의 수학자 앨런 튜링의 초상화가 휴머노이드 로봇이 그린 작품으로는 처음으로 경매에 출품돼 뉴욕에서 100만 달러가 넘는 금액에 낙찰됐습니다. All right, tell us more.
So if you're interested in what this portrait looks like, it's sort of a, I don't know, I'm not an art major, but it's sort of a Pablo Picasso sort of contorted type of face that comes out. But it was created by this world's first ultra-realistic robot artist named Aida. I think it's Aida, or maybe it's AIDA, because it's an artificial intelligence robot that created this portrait that's over 2 meters tall. And according to this robot, quote unquote, that it speaks, says the key value of my work is its capacity to serve as a catalyst for dialogue about emerging technology. So the way this robot created this portrait was after many sketches through its curator or its I guess its helper assistant. It finally came out with this final product. But Turing, if you're not familiar, he was, of course, a famous computer scientist back post World War II, I believe. And he was one of the people that laid the groundwork for the early computers, as well as he talked about artificial intelligence even back then in the mid-20th century. So it's kind of an homage or homage to Alan Turing in that this portrait was created.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of the movie Imitation Game.
Not familiar.
Oh, have you not watched it? You should. It stars Cumberbatch.
Okay.
And it's the story of Alan Turing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Nonetheless, as you said, this particular portrait, it was drawn by the humanoid robot.
Yes.
I think her name is pronounced Ada. I could be wrong, but
Is
as you
it
said,
Ada? Okay.
the spelling is
Yes.
what's important because
Obviously,
AI goes in it.
Right. It's a play on words with
Yeah.
AI.
맞아요. 그래서 저희가 몇 년 전에 모닝스페셜에서도 다뤘었는데 이 로봇이 처음으로 영국의 국회에 가서 이제 자기 의견도 주장하고 토론도 하고 뭐 이러는 정말 그냥 엄청난 지능에 지금 현존하는 휴머노이드 로봇 중에서는 지능이 가장 높은 것으로 높은 로봇 중 하나입니다. 여성이고요, 모습은. 그런데 이제 그림을 그린 게 있는데 그게 이번에 100만 달러가 넘는 금액이 낙찰됐다고 했어요.
Yeah.
우리 돈으로는 기사마다 좀 다르긴 하더라고요. 근데 뭐 어디는 18억 원, 15억 원, 뭐 이렇게 다 그 달러 기준이랑 환산 금액이 좀 다르기는 하더라마는 어쨌든 뭐 한 15억에서 18억 원 정도에 팔렸다라고 보면 되겠습니다.
It was very expensive.
네, 그렇습니다. 자, humanoid가 무슨 뜻이에요?
Yeah, so the way this robot is described, this AI robot, is it's a humanoid, meaning that it's in human form, right? It's a non-human creature with the characteristics of human. You described it as a woman because it has female sort of characteristics with, this long hair and whatnot. But if you look at this word closely, it has the suffix oid, oid. And what that means, originally it means something like or resembling.
Yeah.
And it's often used in scientific terms. For example, a lot of people on our phones, we have an android. An android would be a robot, also a robot with a human appearance. Asteroid is also uses that suffix. Tabloid is from a tablet, right? In short form.
네. 이 OID가 뒤에 붙으면은 기계라고 생각하시면 돼요. 네, humanoid니까 사람의 모습을 한 기계입니다. 이 로봇 같은 경우에는 스펠링이 AIDA인데 영국 수학자 중에 예전에 Ada Lovelace라는 수학자가 있었어요. 그래가지고 그 여성의 이름에서 본따기도 했고 그 다음에 Artificial Intelligence라서 AI라는 스펠링을 넣어가지고 Ada라는 이름을 이렇게 붙여준 걸로 제가 알고 있는데
So no relation to the musical.
그거는
아이다.
이제 아이다.
Okay.
그 뮤지컬.
Maybe that's why I pronounced it like that.
그
Yeah,
뮤지컬도 참 재밌는데 그거랑은 상관없는 것 같아요.
Okay.
네, 그래서 생긴 게 진짜 이제 머리 스타일도 이게 단발머리 하고 있고 그냥 사람처럼 생긴 로봇이라서 그냥 로봇 아니고 humanoid robot입니다. And what about to fetch?
Yes.
얼마.
So we failed to mention that this was sold at auction. And when you sell something at auction, a price is set and it fetched for, meaning it brought in, or it sold for, it went for a certain price. In this case, over $1 million.
Exactly. Fetch and then a price. Basically means it was sold for that price. 얼마에 팔렸다라는 뜻이에요. fetch라는 동사 자체는 무언가를 가져오다라는 뜻이죠.
Right. I tell my wife all the time, hey, can you fetch me a drink while you're in the kitchen?
그렇죠. 이렇게 문장 속에 넣으면은
Yeah.
굉장히 정중하고요. 그렇지만 우리가 강아지한테는 이
Yes.
단어 하나만 말합니다.
Right.
fetch.
Fetch, right.
이렇게
And
하면
then means
가져와.
go and bring it back.
그렇죠. 근데 사람한테 이렇게 하면 무례해요. 사람한테는 이렇게 하면 안 되고.
Yeah.
Could you please fetch me, some water? 뭐 이런 식으로.
You could use it, but usually I'm met with my wife saying, get it yourself.
Get it yourself.
You have
fetch it
legs.
yourself.
You have legs. Get it yourself.
I see. 자, fetch. 뭔가 가져오다지만 이 경우에는 뒤에 금액이 나오면 얼마에 팔렸다. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. A portrait of English mathematician Alan Turing has become the first artwork by a humanoid robot to be sold at auction, fetching more than $1 million in New York. Moving on, this is our next headline.
More than 40 monkeys have escaped from a research facility in the U.S. state of South Carolina, prompting warnings for nearby residents to secure their doors and windows.
미국 사우스캐롤라이나주의 한 연구시설에서 40마리 이상의 원숭이가 탈출하면서 당국은 인근 지역 주민들에게 자택 출입문과 창문을 잠글 것을 당부했습니다. Oh no, monkeys on the loose.
Yes, so this research facility, known conspicuously as Alpha Genesis, had these monkeys, and they escaped. They are rhesus monkeys of Asian sort of origin, old world monkeys, and they're primarily found in Central Asia, in the Afghanistan, Pakistan, Southeast Asia region. But they were on the loose, and as of now, still 42 of the 43 remain at large. So a lot of the residents in nearby areas who probably didn't even know that these monkeys existed there. Although 8 years ago, a similar incident happened at this same facility where 19 primates escaped but were recaptured 6 hours later. So if you're living in this area of the U.S., be on the lookout. And it reminds me, there was an instance back in the late 90s in Korea, in Busan, I believe, when a monkey was on the loose and terrorized residents at the time. It was a Himalayan monkey, I believe.
Really?
But in any case, it was captured and securely captured.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Coming back to this story. 지금
Yes.
미국 사우스캐롤라이나주에서 43마리의 이 원숭이가 시설에서 지금 탈출을 한 거죠. 연구시설에 있었던 원숭이들입니다.
Yes, it was a research facility, meaning a building, a piece of equipment or service that is used for the purpose of something to study.
Yeah. research라고도 하고요. research라고 하고 강세가 앞에 가도 되고요. 뒤에 가도 됩니다. 다 가능하고 그다음 prompting someone to do something or prompting something.
So because they escaped, authorities, they were prompted, they were incited or elicited, induced is probably a good word.
네. 어떤 일을 하도록 하다 이런 의미가 있습니다. prompt 뒤에 warning이 나왔죠. 그러니까 warning 경고를 내게끔 했다. prompt an action 어떤 행동을 하게끔 하다. prompt a noun 그러면 이런 것이 나오게끔 하다라는 뜻이 되겠죠.
Computer, I guess coders know prompts when you put a prompt in and you tell the computer to do something.
정말 중요한 단어예요. 우리 챗GPT 같은 것들이 요즘 굉장히 많잖아요. 거기에다 올리는 지시어들을 영어로는 prompt라고 해요.
Yeah.
하게끔 하는 것들이니까 command가 아니라 prompt라고 합니다.
And in TV news, oftentimes anchors will use TV prompters.
Yes,
right?
that's right. We don't have one.
No, we don't. We don't need one. No.
네.
Everything's off the cuff, spontaneous.
근데 선생님도 뭐 TV 뉴스 하시고 저도 예전에 많이 했지만 그때는 TV prompter 쓰잖아요.
Sometimes, because I wasn't an anchor. But as a reporter, if you're
okay.
on the field or if you're just doing a live hit or a live cross, I try to do it off the cuff. Yeah.
그러네요. 네. 또 라이브 리포팅을 할 때는 그 프롬프터 없이 네, 그냥 바로
It
생중계를
looks more natural, but
네, 네.
yeah.
그렇습니다.
In any case.
자, 그래서 프롬프트라는 게 이제 뭔가 어쨌든 하도록 하다라는 의미라서 TV 프롬프터 방송을 안 하더라도 요즘은 뭐 다 이런 용어들 아시니까 이거는 뭐냐면은 앵커로 하여금 말을 하게끔 하는 그런 글들이라고 생각하시면 될 것
Like a
같아요.
cue, right? Like a
맞아요.
cue signal. Yeah.
그렇습니다. 네. 자, 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. More than 40 monkeys have escaped from a research facility in the US state of South Carolina, prompting warnings for nearby residents to secure their doors and windows. Now here's our final headline.
The ancient city of Pompeii has announced plans to limit the number of daily visitors to the site to 20,000 a day after a steep rise in tourists.
관광객 수가 급증한 이탈리아의 고대 유적 도시 폼페이가 하루 입장객 수를 2만 명으로 제한한다고 발표했습니다.
Yeah, we've talked about it with other sort of landmarks around the world where there's this sort of balancing act that authorities will have to do with this resurgence of tourists and visitors because it really does become a problem at certain points. But nearly 4 million people visited this Pompeii site last year. That's a third more than the previous year. We're back up to more than pre-pandemic levels. Last month alone, Sue, nearly 500,000 people visited the site as well. They get about 500,000 on average per month, it seems. And a big reason for that is that they say there's a big spike in the number of visitors on the first Sunday of the month when it's free, and as well as 3 or 4 fee-paying days. But the cost of a ticket to Pompeii, about 18 euros, about 27,000 won there. So this is something that authorities and the people there are having to sort of deal with.
Yeah. The term revenge travel popped up after the pandemic. And it's because over the past 3 years, people weren't able to travel and we had to rely on our computers and the internet and we were sort
Virtual
of
reality.
virtual traveling, exactly. And so there was a time, and it wasn't too long ago, when these popular tourist sites were not open at all. They were just completely closed. And then, as soon as the doors opened, people were just rushing to go and visit. And, in Korea, we also say, 보복 여행?
I believe so.
그러니까 정말 너무 그동안에 눌렸었기 때문에 여행하고 싶어 하는 마음으로.
I imagine the rise of social media as well has prompted a lot of people to visit these sites to get that, that perfect picture to post and get those likes and those comments, But if you look at behind the scenes of these landmarks, you'll notice there's a huge line of people. I remember when I summited Halasan at the very top of the peak, everyone wants that picture by that little sort of stone there that's erected, but behind the scenes, there's a big line of people there.
Oh, really? At the top of Halasan too?
You would never know on people's Instagram posts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
자, 그래요. 그래서 이제 정말 이제는 오버투리즘 때문에 고생을 하고 있는 그런 관광지도 많습니다. So what they're doing is they're limiting the number of visitors.
Exactly. They're restricting or they're curtailing, perhaps, the number of people that can come. So some people are going to have to be turned away. But they're saying it's not common, but you may have to experience that if you do go.
It's a verb here, as you can see. limit, 제한하다. What about a steep rise?
Right. A rise, of course, is an increase, but a steep rise would be an increase that happens very quickly or abruptly, sharply, right?
Is Halasan a steep mountain, would you say?
There are steep portions, and there are certain trails that are steeper than others, but for the most part, I think it's very doable for the average or casual hiker.
아, 그렇군요. 자, 뭔가 가파를 때 우리가 steep하다라고 하는데요. 가파른 상승, 급상승, steep rise가 되겠습니다. Well, here's the headline one more time. The ancient city of Pompeii has announced plans to limit the number of daily visitors to the site to 20,000 a day after a steep rise in tourists. Well, that's it for the headlines with Shane.